Hello all, in this particular tutorial we will learn how to run MySQL in Docker. We will do the setup and connection to the MySQL database. Setup is done only in two steps. You'll have to pull the Docker image using docker pull MySQL, and then you will run your Docker container using docker run command. So these are the only two commands which are required for you to set up your Docker image or Docker container for MySQL database. Let's proceed to know how to run the Docker container. To run the Docker container, you will say docker run -d says run in background. The name specifies what is the container name. This is your choice. This is the root password. This is the name of the database, MySQL database that will get created. This is the user, MySQL user, who will have the access to this particular database. This is the password of this user, and this is the host port mapping. So this is the MySQL port and this is the host port which will map to the MySQL port, and this is the image name that we downloaded. This has to match to the image that we downloaded. So this and this should match. Again, this is your choice. All of this is your choice except this, which should match to the image which you have downloaded. Now that we know how to run the Docker container, let's see how to connect to MySQL. There are multiple ways of connecting to MySQL database. One is within the container. So you can use docker exec command. You will attach to that particular Docker. This should match to the name of the Docker container. Using the MySQL command, you are saying which user and which database you want to connect. So this is one of the options within the Docker itself. If you don't want to use the Docker and you have the application machine or MySQL client, you can use MySQL. Here you are specifying to which host where the Docker is running. This is the IP address of the machine where the Docker is running. This is the MySQL port. This is the user, MySQL user, and this is the MySQL database. Now, if you don't want like any of these options, you have the GUI tools such as MySQL Workbench, DBEver, or DB Visualizer. You can use any of these tools to connect to your MySQL database. So let's proceed. And before we proceed, let's learn how to start and stop the MySQL container. So if you want to stop the MySQL Docker container, you can use docker stop command. If you want to start it again, you can use docker start command. And if you want to remove the container, you can use docker remove command. Again, this should be the name of the Docker container that you started. Now that we have seen everything, let's go ahead and proceed. So let's go to our Windows machine. Here you can see we don't have any images, neither we have any containers. The Docker has been installed. Let's run a command called docker images, which will show us if there are any images, and you can see I don't have any images on this machine. So the next part is we don't have any images. So let's pull the Docker image, and to do that we will use a simple command, docker pull MySQL. This is one-liner command that we are going to run. Now this particular command goes to the Docker hub and it looks for the Docker image called MySQL and it starts pulling, and you can see it has started downloading. This particular step takes a bit of time. Let me pause and come back. We are almost there. It has completed downloading and now it is extracting that particular Docker image. So give it a few minutes for it to extract, and you can see downloaded newer image MySQL latest. So that's all good. So now if I run a command called docker images, we were not having any images. Right now we got an image called MySQL which is available in our Docker setup. So now if I go to the Docker desktop, and you can see the containers, we don't have any running container. However, we have one image. We can click on this run button and we can give all of this such as container name, port, the variables, etc, etc. This is slightly difficult. This takes time because we have to input these fields manually. What we can do is we can use the docker run command. So this is the docker run command, and again this can be of your choice. However, this has to match to the image that you have downloaded. So this has to match to this name. Rest of the fields are again your choice. So let's take this command and go to our PowerShell. Before I run this command, let me run another command called docker ps. Docker ps shows if there are any containers which are running, and as you can see we don't have any containers running. So let's take this command and we are going to hit the enter, which will start the MySQL Docker container with the name called MySQL Docker. Now if I run the same command docker ps, you will see we got one container based on image called MySQL with the name called MySQL Docker. So we got the container running. Let's verify the same thing using our Docker desktop. Let's go to the containers and you can see we got one container running. Now it's time to connect to our MySQL database. There are multiple ways. What are the different ways? One, what we can do is we can connect using the Docker itself from the Docker within the Docker itself. So let's go ahead and take this command docker exec, and I'm going to explain this command in a minute. So let's take this command and let's hit enter. So docker exec, the name of the Docker you are attaching to, and we are launching the MySQL client with which user and which database we want to connect to. So let's go ahead and let's hit enter, and it prompts for the password. Let's give a password of the, and you can see we have connected to our MySQL. If I say show databases, we should be able to see that we got a database called MySQL DB. And do you know why we got this particular database? Because when we ran our Docker command, we said the name of the database is MySQL DB. So now if you want to create a table or anything, we can go ahead and do that. Now, if you don't want to connect via the Docker itself, if you have an application server, so let's say I have an application server, you need to have a MySQL client installed. So what we are going to do, we are going to connect using the MySQL client. Let's think this as an application server, and here we got the MySQL client. This is the IP address of the machine where the Docker is running. This is the port of MySQL. This is the MySQL user and the database that name that you want to connect. Let's hit enter. It's again prompt for the password. Let's give the password, and you can see we got connected to our Docker MySQL database in the Docker container. So this is another way. Again, if you don't like any of these options, if you have tools such as dbweaver or you have the tools called DB Visualizer, I'll use the DB Visualizer. So let's launch this free tool, DB Visualizer. So this is the free tool. You can use this particular tool to connect to your MySQL. This particular tool supports multiple databases, and let's say create connection. Here you can see it supports multiple types of databases such as MySQL, SQL Server, IBM DB2, Oracle, etc. So let's search for MySQL, and we are using the latest MySQL 9. The Docker image is based on 9. So let's take MySQL 8 plus, give the name of whatever you want to give. So let's say MySQL within Docker. This is your name of your choice. Here we will give where our Docker is running. It is running on machine called Win11. You can either give the IP address or the host name. What database you want to connect? The database name is MySQL DB. This is the user. So this is the MySQL user. This is the password of that particular user. Let's try to see the test connection, and successfully connected. Looks like we have successfully connected. Let's go ahead and connect, and we should be able to, you can see we are connected to MySQL. Now, if you want to run a query, you can say new SQL commander, and if you want to create a table or anything like that, let's go ahead and create one table. So we'll create a table called employee. We'll insert one record. We will select and we will find out. So let's go ahead. Let's take a create table, and you can see the table has been created. Let's insert one record. That's done. And let's look at our, and you can see select star from employee. We are able to get that particular record. Let's go ahead and run that same query here, and we got the same output here as well. So whether you connect using the MySQL client, whether you connect using DB Visualizer, or whether you connect within the Docker itself, you should be able to see the same data. I hope this particular tutorial was useful. In this particular tutorial, we'll learn how to run MySQL in Docker. There are exactly two steps. One is you pull the Docker image and you run the Docker image or Docker container using Docker run command. And again, I would like to say, if you did like the video, if you do like the content that I'm uploading on my channel, then do subscribe to my channel, do hit the like button. Thank you for watching and see you in next tutorial. Till then, bye bye.